The moment you hear this, your heart may skip a beat, because what I am about to tell you is not a scene from a science fiction movie, but a reality that has left even the world's greatest scientists restless. NASA has detected a massive asteroid, a giant rock from the depths of space, silently but steadily approaching Earth. And the mysterious silence surrounding it is more terrifying than any explosion could ever be. Because while the public knows only fragments of the story, behind closed doors the data, the calculations, and the classified discussion suggest something far more dangerous than we can imagine. And so tonight we begin the journey into this cosmic mystery, starting from the very moment a tiny signal flickered across NASA's monitoring screens deep inside the Jet Propulsion Laboratory in California, where a group of tired scientists were running routine sky surveys, expecting nothing more than the usual minor space debris. But suddenly the computer started highlighting an object unlike any other, an object massive in size and strangely dark, reflecting almost no sunlight, making it nearly invisible, a true shadow in space. And as the system's algorithms ran their course, cross-checking the orbit patterns, one word began flashing across the screen in bold red letters: NEO, near-Earth object. And with that, the atmosphere in the room shifted from calm to absolute urgency. Because NASA has strict protocols whenever such an object is detected, yet this was different. This was bigger, darker, and moving with a speed that didn't quite match the predictions. And as the astronomers zoomed in further, they realized this asteroid wasn't behaving like an ordinary space rock. It had an unusual trajectory, as if something unseen was tugging at it, altering its path. And within minutes, the discovery reached higher authorities, from NASA administrators to Pentagon officials, because whenever something of this scale appears, it's not just science, it's national security, it's global survival. And that's where the secrecy begins. Because while the general public was told about a newly discovered asteroid passing at a safe distance, behind the scenes, the truth being discussed was far more alarming. The asteroid was not on a harmless flyby. It was gradually aligning on a course that could bring it dangerously close to Earth. And the timeline, according to their preliminary models, was shorter than anyone wanted to believe. Perhaps only a few years, maybe even less. And what's even stranger is that the asteroid seemed to come from a part of space not usually associated with near-Earth objects, almost as if it had been nudged, redirected, or even sent. And while most scientists refused to even consider such possibilities out loud, the thought haunted them quietly. Because the universe is full of mysteries, and sometimes what we don't understand scares us more than what we do. And as the days passed, data poured in from telescopes around the world, all confirming the same thing: the asteroid was massive, almost the size of a small mountain, and if it were to collide with Earth, the devastation would be beyond imagination, greater than the asteroid that wiped out the dinosaurs. Because this one's composition appeared to be metallic, meaning it was heavier, stronger, and less likely to break apart in the atmosphere. A direct strike could vaporize entire regions, cause tsunamis, and send shockwaves circling the globe, throwing our climate into chaos for decades. But despite this knowledge, NASA chose silence, choosing to study more, choosing not to create panic. Yet inside the halls of power, quiet meetings began. Scenarios were drafted, secret defense briefings were held, and for the first time in years, the possibility of a planetary emergency was discussed not as theory, but as an approaching reality. And as this secret spread through only the most restricted circles, something even stranger began happening. Because when scientists attempted to trace back the asteroid's path through computer simulations, projecting its journey backward in time, they found anomalies that didn't quite fit into the gravitational model of our solar system. As if it had taken an unnatural detour, its orbit seemed too precise, too directed, like a bullet that had been fired instead of a stone that had simply wandered, and whispers began among a few daring minds. What if this asteroid was not just a random chunk of rock, but something else, something sent, something carrying secrets within its metallic body? And though the official explanation remained natural object, many knew deep down that this mystery was only beginning. Because the universe doesn't always reveal its intentions right away. And as night after night passed, new images showed the asteroid's rotation, its shadowy surface hiding strange ridges and patterns, almost geometric in some places, and that raised the most terrifying question of all. What if it wasn't just a rock? What if it was more, and Earth was the target waiting at the end of its silent journey? And so here we stand, caught between silence and revelation, between scientific caution and human fear, as NASA races against time to decode the truth of this massive asteroid that now hangs over our future, like a dark sword from the heavens. And while we wait for answers, the mystery only deepens, the shadows only grow longer, and the question echoes louder each day: are we truly alone in this universe? Or is this asteroid the first message of something far greater approaching from the depths of the unknown? Approaching from the depths of the unknown? That was the thought echoing in the minds of the few who dared to confront the possibility. Because the asteroid was no longer just a scientific anomaly, but a riddle written across the sky. A riddle humanity had little time to solve, and as NASA's hidden files grew thicker, the story of this object turned more unsettling. For with every new observation came details that only deepened the mystery. The asteroid's spin was not random but strangely rhythmic, almost like a pulse. Its surface showed patterns too linear to be dismissed as mere chance, and its speed shifted in ways that defied the natural pull of gravity. And though most scientists tried to dismiss these signs as errors in data, the unease was impossible to ignore, because the deeper they looked, the less it behaved like a simple space rock, and more like something with a purpose. And in the high-security chambers where meetings stretched into the night, officials asked questions no one wanted to answer. What if this wasn't an asteroid at all? What if it was a construct, or worse, a weapon? And as these questions lingered in silence, the very air seemed heavier because the stakes were no longer about impact probabilities, but about the unknown intentions of forces far beyond human reach. Yet outside these walls, the world continued unaware. Children went to school. People went to work. Cities buzzed with their endless noise, not knowing that above them, far beyond their sight, a giant shadow was crawling closer each day. And while governments debated secrecy versus disclosure, one chilling fact united everyone in those private rooms: the object was not turning away. It was coming closer, step by step, mile by mile, as if some ancient path had been written for it long before Earth was ready to see it. And when astronomers tried to trace its origins, their calculations pointed back not to the familiar asteroid belt nor the distant Kuiper belt, but to a darker, emptier region of interstellar space, a place where human eyes had seen almost nothing. And that begged the terrifying question: who or what had sent it? And why now, at this precise time in human history? And as the scientists argued over theories, whispers of old prophecies began circulating in hushed tones. Stories of a celestial messenger from ancient texts, tales of fiery stones from heaven that bring both destruction and revelation. And though NASA did not deal in myths, the alignment was too eerie to ignore, because sometimes history hides warnings in the language of legends, and maybe humanity had been warned long ago about an object exactly like this one, an object that carries not just the power to destroy, but perhaps the key to a mystery greater than our survival itself. And as the telescopes kept watching, strange anomalies continued. Radio signals sometimes flickered when the asteroid crossed certain positions, as if it absorbed or reflected transmissions unnaturally. And more frightening still, in one rare moment, deep space radar detected what appeared to be a faint echo, almost like a hollow chamber inside the rock, a signal that should not have existed. A sign that the asteroid may not be solid stone after all, but something more complex, something perhaps designed, and that revelation chilled even the boldest minds. Because if there was emptiness inside, what was it hiding? What was waiting, dormant, in the dark chambers of that silent traveler? And why was it now approaching Earth after untold millennia in the void, and so sleepless nights became the norm? At NASA and allied observatories, as every fragment of data was pored over, every calculation checked 1,000 times, yet the numbers always ended with the same truth: the asteroid was inbound, its path converging with Earth, and though official channels still spoke of safe distance flybys, those within the circle of secrecy knew the truth could not be hidden forever.